Are you in the market for a brand new vehicle? If you are, I'm pretty sure that one of the things keeping you up at night is trying to figure out whether you should lease or buy that next fresh set of wheels. But don't let it stress you out. It is simply buying a tool. And what we're here to do in this video is unpack all the elements of figuring out whether buying or leasing is the better and cheaper option for you. What's up, guys? This is your boy Kenny Finance. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the home of all smart money moves. And one of the smartest moves you can make is trying to figure out how to afford and how to buy or lease that fresh set of wheels that's going to be pulling up in your driveway very soon. And if you clicked on this video, you are probably wrestling with that important buying versus leasing question, and this video gives everything and more as it relates to this topic. So we're first going to dive into how to purchase a car. Second, we're going to walk through the pros and the cons of leasing and buying. Third, we're going to talk about the total cost of ownership as it relates to a vehicle, because it's not just the monthly payments. And then lastly, we're going to dive into the smartest tactics to save on all transportation. Diving right in with how to purchase a car. Now, cars are very important. It gets you from point A to point B. If you're a commuter, it helps you get to work. If you're a student, it helps you get to classes. It's a very important thing to have. It's not realistic for me to say never drive a car. But if you have to purchase one, there are different ways that you can go about purchasing that vehicle. Number one is that you can buy it in cash. Number two, you can buy it and finance it. Or three, you can lease the car. Or four, if you're super rich, you can have your parents give you one of their cars, but not all of us is that lucky. But I would say if you're thinking about the three different options, number one, buying it with cash, that is typically going to require a significant cash up front, right? So if a car is $20,000, $30,000, you have to walk into that dealership or that lot with $20,000, $30,000 in cash. Next is buying it with financing. You can think of this as literally just like buying a house with a mortgage. You're going to the dealership, you're saying, I like this car for $20,000. I will put $5,000 down and pay the rest of it off in a loan that has principal and interest payments. Just like that. But the good thing is with buying it in cash and buying it with a loan, you will own the vehicle. And then the third piece is leasing it. And leasing, if you're unfamiliar with the topic, this is essentially renting a car from the dealership. You don't own the vehicle. You go to the dealership and say, I want to drive this for 2 to 3 years. I will pay a monthly payment to drive this vehicle. Easy as that. You get the keys, you get to drive off the lot. And those are the three ways that you can go about purchasing a vehicle. Now, the fourth one is you can steal a car, but I don't recommend that. This is a very smart, safe community. We don't steal cars. Instead, we invest early, we invest regularly, we make a crap ton of money in the stock market and all our investments so that we can afford nice cars. That's what we do. We don't steal cars. And now, with the topic of leasing versus buying the car, let's unpack all of the pros and the cons as it relates to this. So, for buying, we're going to start off here. For buying, there's a handful of pros. Number one, you own the car outright. That's right. This is your vehicle, your baby. You get to name it, do whatever you want to it. You own the car when you buy it. And with that, there's another benefit to where you can customize it however you want. Like when you're leasing a car, you can't do that many aesthetic changes to it because you have to give the car back to the dealership. But when you own a car, you can paint it a different color, put new rims on it, put a brand new hood on it, upgrade the engine, paint it pink, blue, red, whatever you want to do. This is literally like the car, the toy that you can pimp my ride with if that's what you want to, because you own the vehicle. The third one is you are building equity with the car. Now, you're not building house or stock market style equity. You're just building essentially an exit value once you want to sell the car. So you're building some equity, but don't expect you to buy a car for $2,000 and sell it for $20,000. And this is not an investment. Let's make that very, very clear. I should have said that at the beginning of the video. A car is not an investment. All right. It is simply a utility to get you from point A to point B. But if you do purchase a vehicle and you have some financing, you buy it in cash, you have some equity value a little bit. It could be a little or it could be a lot, but you do have some equity value because once you're done paying off the loan, or once you go to a buyer and say, hey, I have a car I want to sell, you can sell that car for something. That is your equity value. Now, what you sell it for, that's a whole nother conversation, whole nother video. But it is something that you can sell for some dollars if you need to liquidate assets and get some cash in your hands. That's why I call it equity that you're building. And then the last one is you can drive that thing literally to the ground. There's no limit on how much and how often you can drive that vehicle. So those are the pros. Now let's talk about the cons. The first con is that typically when you own a car and you are financing it with a loan, you are going to have a higher monthly payment than leasing. It's just the facts. Typically the interest rates are a lot higher and the terms are a lot higher, so you're gonna have to pay a little bit more every month versus leasing the car. The second is that the repair and maintenance costs can be very expensive. Since this is your car, no one is coming to save you if you have a flat tire, if you have an oil leak or your transmission is gone, whatever that may be, because it is your vehicle. You are responsible for the upkeep and making it as running and perfect as possible because it is your vehicle. Now I'll talk about leasing where some of those dynamics, especially the repair and the maintenance, is a little bit more favorable. So let's just summarize the buying a car process. I walk up to the Lamborghini dealership and I say, I wanna buy the brand new Aventador. And they say you can buy it with cash or you can buy it with financing. And I say, you know what? Since I'm a Kenny Finance subscriber / creator, I'm balling. I'm gonna pay $500,000 cash to buy this Aventador. Or I'm gonna finance it. Now the issue is I'm gonna have to provide all of the maintenance and the repairing and have a pretty high monthly payment. But the good thing is it is my car. I can sell it for cash if absolutely needed. I can drive it as much as I want. It is my baby. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, I incredibly recommend you to never, ever, ever buy a Lamborghini cash, first of all. It's not a smart use of your money. You should buy a crap ton of businesses, stocks, all that stuff. But essentially, that is how you think about owning and buying a vehicle. All right, so diving into leasing. The pros. Number one, you will have a lower monthly payment versus buying a car with financing. It is because you are giving the car back. You cannot sell the car. There's no real equity to building in the car. So therefore, you renting it is going to have a lower monthly payment. Number two, you are able to drive a brand new car for the next 1 to 3 years. And leases are typically offered for vehicles that just came out or in production over the last 1 to 2 years. So leases are a pretty cool option if you want to drive the latest 2024, 2025 vehicles. And then lastly, under warranty, many of the repair and maintenance needs are covered by the dealership. So you don't have to come out of pocket that much for things that are broken or needs fixed or maintenance, whatever that may be, because the dealership will actually cover a lot of those repair and maintenance costs. Now, the cons of leasing a car. Number one, there are mileage limits. So for a lease, the dealership owns it, so they don't want you running this thing literally to the ground. So they typically set an annual limit for how many miles you can drive that car. And it's typically around 10 to 12,000 miles. And if you're a commuter that's driving 100 plus miles every single day, that could be a really bad setup for you. So one, keep in mind the mileage limits when you're leasing a car. Number two, prepayment fees. If you just happen to sign a lease and 6 months from then you kind of realize like, oh, I want to buy a car or I don't like this car this much, you kind of have to pay a lot of fees to break that lease. And in addition to the fees for breaking that lease, it's also a hassle to find someone to take over that lease as well. So you kind of have to find a new buyer, you have to pay all these fees. It's a headache. So you're kind of locked into this lease for however the 2 to 3 year term that you signed up for. So be prepared for those payments for the full duration of the lease. And number three, no equity value at the end of the lease. So at the end of 24 to 36 months, you do not own the car, you do not get to keep it, you have to give it back, and you have, that's it. They say, thank you, do you want to lease another car? Now, what you can do is you can buy that vehicle at the residual value, and it's typically going to be less than what you paid originally if you want to buy the car outright at the start. But think of it as monthly payments to test the car out, and then if you want to buy it, you can buy it at the residual value. All right, now let's compare the numbers of buying versus leasing. So let's put this all into context here. So I looked at Edmunds, which is a trusted source when it comes to looking at cars, and I want to look at what it would take to purchase a 2024 Tesla Model Y, which, if I want to buy it outright, costs about $50,000. And the good thing about buying a Tesla is that there are significant tax credits for buying an electric vehicle. It depends on the state, but I think it's about a $7,500 tax credit for folks that are living in California. So this is a perk because it kind of reduces the overall cost of ownership for that vehicle. And if I wanted to buy it outright with financing at the $50,000 purchase price, it's probably going to have 5.5 interest rate. With that interest rate, my monthly expenses is going to be around $1,000 to purchase this vehicle. Now, let's compare that to going on Tesla's website and seeing how much a lease would actually cost. Now, a lease for a Tesla Model Y, depending on the different types of tricks and gadgets you have in the car, is going to cost between $300 to $400 per month for the lease. Now, this just shows economically leasing is the superior option for an electric vehicle in California because of the tax credits and all that other jazz. Now, what I want you to understand is that I am saving between $700 and $600 each month just by leasing. And I like that because it gives me extra cash flow to do a few things. One, it allows me to afford a better home or standard of living. Or two, it allows me to invest that excess cash into the stock market and get a significant return. And if you think about that in a longer time horizon, over an annual or however long your lease term is, you are saving $600 to $700 per month times 12 months times 3 years for this lease. So that is significant cash that you can be putting into a better apartment, a better home, or putting those dollars into other investment accounts where you can actually get some return on your investment. Now, moving on to the total cost of ownership when it comes to a car. Because I want you to understand, when you have something in your garage that you're driving every single day, the monthly payment is, the largest piece of owning a vehicle, but it's not the only factor that requires dollars going out of your pockets. Other factors include maintenance and repairs on that vehicle. And if you're leasing, remember, they cover it typically at the dealership, but if you own it, you have to pay for all of that. The next is registration, parking, and other miscellaneous fees as it relates to owning that vehicle. You have to pay this stuff either every month or every single year, so factor that into your total cost of ownership. And then the last one is depreciation. And for a car, the second you drive it off the lot, it will depreciate, so consider that cost as well. And then the last one is insurance, because you have to be insured if you're going to be driving this vehicle. So I want you to understand that that $300 to $400 leasing payment for that Tesla is not going to be all that I spend as it relates to owning or leasing this car. I'm probably going to spend between $800 to $1,000 all in to drive this car every single month. All right, so let's wrap this up by touching on the last topic of how to save on all of your transportation costs. Number one, easiest way to save, get active. Start walking to work, start walking to hang out with your friends, or walk to the local pubs or the local clubs. Do whatever you have to do to get outside. Walk or use a bike or whatever that may be. Get active to get from point A to point B. One, it saves you so much money because it's completely free. But then two, you're also treating your body right and paying yourself first by getting a lot of physical activity. So check that out. And if you live in a city like New York, I don't know why you're watching this video. You shouldn't even consider buying or leasing a car because you can literally walk everywhere in New York. Or at least in my second option, which is leverage public transportation. If you're in those big cities, odds are they have some form of public transportation, whether it's subways or trains, to get you to your destination. It is super efficient. It actually saves a lot more time, and it saves you so much money because you don't have to own a car, you don't have to pay for gas. Literally just pay $2.75, hop on that subway, hop on that L train to get into the city. That simple. And then my last way to save on public transport is if you absolutely have to own a vehicle, I recommend buying 5 to 10 years older as well as used, because this allows you to save as much money as possible because you're buying a super used car that already has some miles on it. Now make sure you bring someone with you to test the vehicle to make sure that it runs properly and that there are no hidden issues. But if you find the right one, you can save a crap ton of money in the long term. So try to buy used and old if you can, because it is simply a tool and a form of transportation to get you from point A to point B. So I'm giving up my 2024 Tesla dreams, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I find a sub $5,000 Tesla. Now, something may be wrong with it, but I did go on Facebook Marketplace, and I was checking out all the different ways that you can look for a vehicle on Facebook Marketplace. It is literally this simple. You go on facebook.com, check out Marketplace, and you look up the cars. And if you look at the cars, they have so many vehicles that are like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And let's look up a used car. And here we see a used Tesla. Now this listing is like kind of shady because I've never seen a Tesla that cheap. But it just goes to show that cars like this do exist. They have some miles on it. It's about 5 to 10 years old. You get from point A to point B. Like, look, just give it a shot. So before you actually go out and buy something, test out looking at the used prices on Facebook Marketplace. Oh, and by the way, while you're on Facebook, make sure you guys go follow Kenny Finance on Facebook as well as on Instagram. We put out content literally every single day in the hands of your device where you can learn about finance, investing, budgeting, the markets, all type of jazz. So check that out and follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram. All right, guys, so that is it. That is everything you need to know about leasing or buying a vehicle. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys smash the like button down below and then leave a comment. I'd love to hear, for the car that you're driving right now, did you lease it or did you buy it, and why? Let us know. You could be saving someone else's car financial life by sharing your input. And I know I'm beating on this whole owning a car thing so much because I keep saying it's just to get you from point A to point B, but it is facts, because I view buying a car or buying a super expensive car as a super money waster. And if you want to understand the other 6 money wasters that I think people are wasting their dollars on, check out this next video and try to find ways to stop that so you can have more cash and invest into your future. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Let's get this money. Peace.